Hello, welcome to the Reframing Mindset podcast. We are clear my head of the thoughts that are preventing clarity, practice my speech, among other things. Episodes range from informative knowledge to funny stories about my experiences, and in the future, maybe include interviews. So subscribe and enjoy. Episodes drop every other day. Okay, so welcome back to Reframe Mindset podcast. I know it's Colin Smith Brooks. And this episode is since this episode is supposed to be released Christmas Day, so this day, so when it's released, Merry Christmas, Yeah, and speaking of Christmas, so way back when, a couple weeks ago, I went to one of my previous guests, Tyler Colquhoun, event. He had a Christmas event, so we're going to do some fitness and workout and stuff like that. And it was a great event. And I went there and I was pretty unfit. Barely could do the moves, but I pushed through and went through. And then after, he had two guests, a dentist and another person that talks about some health tips and stuff. So the event was pretty good. So I guess since he talk about the health tips, it only makes sense to just mention it here, because there's no harm in telling you. The best you can do is just hear and ignore it. Yeah, man. But yeah, so let's get into it. So one of the first guests was a dentist, and what she was talking about was oral health, So one of the first points she mentioned was brushing your teeth actually reduces the chance of heart disease, as it reduces the buildup that would have built up in your teeth due to not brushing, and that can go down into the arteries or those and clog up it and cause all kind of problems, So brushing your teeth can release all those things that may build up and can go down, That's a basic, simple version of why brushing teeth can be helpful for heart disease. Also, the brushing, the new standard, according to her, was brushing a circular motion, instead of how people usually brush erratically, brushing a circular motion is the I guess the dentist standard. That's the best way to actually clean the teeth and stuff like that. And he said a soft toothbrush is best to use a soft toothbrush rather than the hard one, as the hard one can hurt the gums and teeth and such. Yeah, so I best to use one of the soft toothbrush, and this just as effective as a hard toothbrush. So the next thing is oral, for those who like to work out and have gym body and stuff like that. Oral health is just as important as physical exercise, as bad oral health can reduce physical health. So that's something to know for those who want to do fitness and whatnot, want to get that gym body and stuff like that. If your oral health isn't on point, it's it kind of takes away from your physical health. Yeah. So that was it for the dentist. What we have learned from the dentist, and the other person that came on now talk about some general health tips that we should do to have. I forgot what she was talking about. What it was, some health tips, or let's call it some health tips. So first one is eat well. and he said it best to eat a balanced meal ideally. And she was taught to we I'm in Jamaica and stuff like that. And I said the Jamaican diet is not really an ideal diet as it's filled with more carbs. Because what we usually eat is usually a large amount of um, rice, meat, protein, and really any vegetable and stuff like that. So I said our diet is not really balanced. So ideally we should have protein, a small amount of protein, small amount of carb, and other things, vegetable, legumes and such, so and fruits. So that's what she said we must daily intake. So the next thing is to do physical checkup, check up on the body to see if you're healthy and stuff like that. Because some people may be healthy, you may look and feel healthy, but when you go to the doctor, you find out that hey, you have X and X problem and stuff like that. So the routine checkups can also make you detect early problems that early problems that you may have, so you can deal with them earlier rather than learning later, and then you reach a point where you can't really deal with it, so that's one of the next thing. Next thing is smoking, no smoking, and that's a general thing. Everybody should have known that smoking is bad for your health. It damages your lungs and stuff like that. There's generally no right reason to be smoking, but I guess people do it. But if you can, it's best not to. As for drinking, he said, drinking is not as dangerous as alcohol, but it's dangerous in its own way if you over drink. So it's best not to drink a lot. It's if you're a lady, if you're a woman, it's better to drink like one glass a day or 1 glass a day. And for men 2 glass. But people may overdo it. But ideally, if you can keep it to down that level, you can. That's the best. But ideally, if you don't drink, that would be great. That would be great. And the last thing is, no, not the last. The second to last thing is to get a good rest. Get to 7 to 8 hours of sleep, because you can do your physical exercise and stuff like that. But if you don't get the rest, the body won't get to repair and feel fresh in the morning to do all the things. Because during the sleep time, during time when you sleep, majority of the repairing and stuff like that happens, and memory retention and stuff. It's a part where the body kind of do its reset for the next day. And if you get little to no sleep, you are not at your peak, So it's best to get good rest, as much as good rest as you can. And the last thing, she said was to live good with people, Hating is a negative energy that can really reduce your health, the thought of having a bad thinking about a person you hate, that can really eat away at you, man. So it's best to live as good with people as possible, or just try to surround yourself with as much positive energy as you can, because the negative energy can drain you and stuff like that. So that's it in terms of that. The event was great. He said our next one is coming around the summer, so I guess I'll put the interview I did with him in the description. But yeah, so you can listen to it. So you can listen to it. But that was it. The event was great. We did a lot of dance routine, cardio stuff, dancing. It's first time I done. Well, when I was at university, I danced a lot, but it's been a first time in a long since then that I've danced so much, and I can feel the unfitness of my body. 'Cause, when I was at UWI, I was more fit because when I went to UWI, I was just coming off playing basketball at my high school. So, we usually train there. So my body was at peak form those times because I was training for basketball. So I had the stamina to really do it. But now, since I've left university and all these lockdown and stuff like that, I've been not moving much. So when I actually went to the dance event, it was a really hard battle, but it was great at the end. It was fun, energetic, and fun and things. So yeah, so check out his interview. Links will be in the description. Or for those that want to just search, the interview name is Tyler Colquhoun. So I think it's interview 3. Yeah, so you can search back and check. So, alright, that's it for this episode, and thank you for listening.
Well, this is the end of the episode. Thanks for watching and look forward for the next episode. To support this podcast, go to anchor.fm/cssb/support or become a sponsor for this episode. If you have a product that you want to have more exposure, DM me on the Instagram page, Reframing Mindset Podcast, or on Twitter at ReframingP. Either way would help. Thank you regardless for listening, and here's a preview for the next episode.
This episode now, since we're winding down to the end of the year, I got some stats, from Spotify. And at end of the year, they do a Spotify Wrapped where they talk about some stats that you have gotten from your podcast, and it makes sense that since you're one of the listeners, you can listen and hear how we have done this year. So let's get into it now. So according to Spotify, so on January 3 of this year, the first, that's 2021, the first episode of the year that was dropped was Basic Necessities of Life, Political Video and Transportation. So that was the first episode. Jamaica and Australia